Hey everyone. Filip here, BD or slash DeFi Degen at RedStone Oracles. And today at today's panels, we're gonna be talking about infrastructure and what's the way for infrastructure to offer better user experience within Web3. And I think we can kick things off with short intros of our panelists. Let's start from my left. Guys, if you can do a 1-minute intro of yourself, tell us how you got into crypto, and maybe also some information about the company or project you're from.
Sure. Hi guys, I'm Chris. I'm GP at Equilibrium Ventures. So my background is, I guess, got into crypto in like 2015 when I first invested in Ethereum, and just kind of been in the space since. A little bit about Equilibrium is we were started in 2018. We're based in Finland, but the main businesses we have now, I think about like 65 senior level blockchain engineers in-house. So we helped build like the first version of Starknet for Starkware. We helped build the first version of Aleo. Celestia, ZK Sync, Aptos, Ethereum, Polygon, Solana. They're actually all our clients on the engineering side. So we actually help with probably like the deepest and hardest layer of the tech stack. So we help design protocols as well as like consensus mechanisms and stuff like that. And so that's the consulting side. And then out of that, we actually just raised a fund that does VC investments as well as like OTC kind of liquid investments. But I guess because of our background, we only focus on like very deep infra and kind of like deeper tech. So.
Thank you, Chris. Anthurine?
Hey, Anthurine got into the crypto in 2018. Before that, so finance background in Wall Street and also Silicon Valley for the traditional Web2 company, has been always doing data science strategy and product. And ever since 2018, so with my co-founder, we did like a first project, QuarkChain. It's a layer 1 sharding project. And now, so we're also doing like EthStorage, which is a storage layer for the Ethereum ecosystem, just like a native IPFS. And currently, so we are actually building like a new layer 2, combine QuarkChain and EthStorage, while all the other layer 2 trying to give you, fantastic like TPS, like the more TPS, the better. We're not only giving the TPS, but also the on-chain capacity, because we believe all the other DApps, like the on-chain AI and like, all the other DApps, that's what they need. So we have been doing like infra for like 6 years, and we are always focused on that.
Hi everyone, my name is Shawn. How I got into crypto? I got into crypto at a very similar time at Anthurine in 2018. Bought my first Bitcoin, Ethereum then, in the last like multiple crashes before. So then subsequently, prior to that, I spent about a decade in banking, so I was managing clients' money. And subsequently moved into crypto, running a couple of the crypto brokerage and OTC businesses before joining Exla now for 1.5 years, running the Asia operations for them. So what does Exla do? We are one of the leading interoperability protocol. What does that mean is that we connect close to 70 chains right now, expanding across Cosmos, EVMs, and we're going to add a couple of the crucial alt VMs, the likes of Solana, Sui, Ripple, Stellar, you name it. We'll connect most of the chains out there. So we enable builders to build cross-chain protocols, build cross-chain applications, and also the likes of bridges, token bridging. It's powered by the messaging layer that Exla runs.
All right, thank you guys. And maybe also a short intro of RedStone for those of you not familiar. We're the fastest growing Oracle right now. Went literally from 0 to around 6 billion TVS in span of 2 years. We're mostly focused on EVM chains and are currently exploring a lot of on-chain native yield-bearing tokens and providing data feeds for them. So for today's topic, we're going to be talking about UX user experience and how infra plays a key role in this experience. I think it's pretty interesting because in current market, you can see like literally thousands of protocols, projects, different dApps, chains, and pieces of infra. And I think the biggest problem right now that we see is all of these have no users. So I wonder, maybe you might not agree with me, guys, but I wonder what's your perspective on this, and what do you think is the importance of user experience on Web3, and why infrastructure plays a key role in it? And maybe you can start with Chris.
Yeah, sure. So I do agree. I guess the Web3 usage of a lot of dApps have actually grown probably like ever since the beginning, and it's only been up. But if you look at it comparatively, obviously, to like other Web2 kind of native apps, it's not even close at the usage side. So I guess higher level, what's kind of, I guess, the big barriers there is, first of all, you could probably look at it kind of as like a tech stack, really. So like the front end is obviously a mess right now. And so I think a lot of wallets have tried to abstract away the kind of complexity. But a big thing that is always, I guess, a big crux and a big problem with that is, I don't know if you've tried, but like bridging assets between wallets or even within the same kind of ecosystem is always a pain. And so I don't know if we're going to go into that later on like how you can actually solve a lot of that. But that's a big one. So I remember trying to like bridge, even within the Solana ecosystem, some assets, and it took me like to like 3 different websites, and I had to sign like 3 different times and stuff like that. And so I think identity and actually trying to sign and kind of verify a lot of those transactions is a huge pain point. And then on top of that, yeah, the other part, I guess, of the UX side is like, not only do you have to actually like go through all those websites, it's more like even when you get to actually signing it, the transaction actually going through and verifying all of that actually takes sometimes up to a minute. And try to have that in like an Amazon checkout, and like nobody would use that platform. So we kind of at Equilibrium take the stance that like you can never be fast enough or never cheap enough. And so I guess that's what we do a lot on the engineering side. Like we're always trying to optimize the tech stack as much as you can. But yeah, there's a lot of problems there that we can probably get into.
I agree on the bridging side of things. I'm a DeFi Digital myself. I'm a DeFi power user, and bridging from EVM to Solana, even using aggregator, is such a pain in the ass. Like sometimes you need to wait 20 minutes. You need to copy paste the proper contract address, double check if everything is alright. Then you wait for the money. Don't know if it's arriving or not. What happened in between? It's crazy out there. You guys want to add something to the question?
Yeah. So, you know, when Web2 users are trying to use some app, they just don't need to figure out like, okay, so what is underneath like technology? Is it like Web2 or whatever like? They just use that directly, right? For Web3 users, so there's a saying like, if we want to make it easier, we have to sacrifice decentralization. We have to make everything like centralized. Actually, from some of the cases, yes, but some other scenario, no. So for example, like 2 things we're building. The first one is about like the website. So no matter like your decentralized infra or app, so right now you're using www. Like the centralized DNS, Infura, those kind of like website, right? We know there's a IPFS version of decentralized website, but that's totally different user experience because they're just a screenshot. You cannot interact with the web page. You can just browse what existing for that page. That's it. Now we are running like a dynamic like website. So from the user perspective, they actually don't know this is like a dynamic website because what they can click or they can interact is just like before. But actually everything is hosted on-chain, on a smart contract. It can be any layer 2, or if you think your front-end code is too much, you just host it on EthStorage. And yeah, so that's like one scenario. Another one is currently, if we ask a Web2 user to using like the app, first, he need to get to like a wallet. We already make it very simple. Like AA, you can just use your Gmail, you can use your Twitter account to get you like a wallet. That's easier. Not like previously, you have to get like very hard way to get your MetaMask or something, right? But the second one is you have to use some gas token. So they will say, oh, we're going to buy the gas token and ask some friend to send them some gas token to begin with. But when you download like an app, you just download it, register, and use that. So we have another feature called Soul Gas Token. That Soul Gas Token can only use as a gas token. You cannot be transferred for SAX or DEX because we know like there are just so many people take advantage for that, get some token and dump it instead of use that. To avoid that, so those Soul Gas Token, you just get into any new user wallets when they register, they already have that, and they can only use that as like a gas token. So the same experience as they download like the app. By using this way, we're not sacrifice any decentralization, but still make their life much easier.
Yes. So just to address what Chris and Philip said about bridging, I think we interact with a lot of bridges on the XLR side. So essentially, if you look at some of the key narratives that people are thinking about as what we call as like chain abstraction, right? I think the topic back to about user adoption is that we want to make sure that any user that we want to onboard into Web3 doesn't really need to know whether they're interacting with Arbitrum, Solana, Starknet, zkissing, or any other new chains that are coming up, right? The whole idea is like remove all the chain complexity, and the devs are the one that's dealing all the complexities. And for the users, they shouldn't even feel that. I think we are taking that step forward, and I think coming back to the point that for the case like bridging between EVM and Solana, right now some of the existing solutions are a bit cumbersome on that front, but hopefully once XLR is live with Solana, gonna solve a lot of those problems. Right now, we already do that for a lot of the EVM to EVMs, Cosmos to EVMs. And how we do that is essentially one of our ecosystem apps called Squid. With just a couple of clicks, you can swap token to token. It utilizes existing liquidity on multiple AMMs, and they just route the order across multiple chains, right? So you do not need to actually bridge from 3 different website front ends before reaching to the end token. So you can do any token to any token just from one front end.
All right, so I'm waiting for a proper bridge to Solana from you guys. Well, all right, so I think we already touched a little upon this point, but I think all of you guys most likely use MetaMask or Phantom. Like, I use it on a daily basis. Those are the products that been around since forever, especially MetaMask, right? I think that's a very specific outlier where almost everyone uses it. It's adopted across the whole crypto space. And many people don't consider it the best user experience. I think Phantom is actually potentially much better. There are also like other DeFi dApps that are emerging. I'm a big fan of Hyperliquid myself. It's a hot topic right now, and I think a big part of its success is actually the user experience. So the way UI works, the way like when you open up a trade, it gives you text-like feeling. And I think it's really all thanks to UI. It's not like the DEX is just much better. It's very similar, but the feeling of using it for the user is way different. I wonder, from your perspective, looking at these, let's say, 3 different types of protocols or projects, is the current infra available in crypto, especially on the wallet side of things, enough to onboard more like non-crypto native users into our space? Like, do you envision your mom using MetaMask, for example, or MetaMask with a ledger? Or if not, like, what do you think we should do to make it better? And we can start with whoever wants to kick off.
Yeah, I think even for a more sophisticated user like myself, been in crypto for many years, I still find MetaMask very cumbersome to use. I like other front ends like Rabby, you can still use MetaMask on the underlying. Like for those cases, it's like, I think back to the point, the wallets, I think they are there, but right now, especially when you move into a more multi-VM type of structure where, there is, you look at, there's the Move ecosystem with Sui and Aptos, you have the Solana that's already very competitive against the EVMs, and then you have the whole EVM world, and previously they had Cosmos. So if you were to look at a very multi-VM world, it's still highly fragmented for now. But the thing is that if you look at, back to the point that Filip made with regards to Hyperliquid success, is that it has a very CX-like interface. But the thing is that you have a lot of trade-offs, right? Just now, Anthurine mentioned about centralization. Like, how many of you guys know that they are highly centralized on the back end? They are not DeFi as you think, right? So those trade-offs is something that users need to think about when you engage with some of the protocols out there. But the thing is that we need to come a stage where users don't need to make that conscious decision, because at that point in time, the ecosystem, the industry kind of make those conscious decisions, what's best for the users. Then it becomes like a full user experience for the user itself, than just purely focusing on all the technical trade-offs.
Yeah, I agree. You guys want to add anything?
I think in the last question, I kind of mentioned that. So basically, wallet is the most important entries for user getting into the Web3 world. And I mentioned as like a Web2 user, you just download like the app, register that, and begin to use. So for these 3 steps, the first one usually is like how you get into create your account, right? For MetaMask, those traditional wallet right now, I know they're trying to bring like the AA, this kind of account abstract. So you can just using other ways, like logging through the email, logging through Twitter, or other login. So this one already being solved. And this is like Vitalik has been always, like ever since like last year, account abstract. And the second one is how they can begin do that. So I just mentioned like the reason we be using like a Soul Gas token is I know some of the account abstract wallet can have such function. So basically they can have like identity like some other gas token. But if you're using like let's say like MetaMask, if you don't want to upgrade into like other wallet, because once you already using MetaMask, it's really hard for you to switch into other wallets. Then how can you do that? That Soul Gas token is like a chain function. So actually, that's not like only function for our own layer 2. We have been optimized that for the OP stack. So if you're using OP stack to issue your own layer 2, you can choose that as like a feature as well. Yeah. So in that ways, any other users, when they create their own wallet, there already being some gas token inside, whatever you can customize that for, and they begin to use your D app. So that's something I think it's really important. And also, Vitalik just published an article, I think it's like last week. So he's like, what I might expect for the future wallet. So except for these, trying to get Web3 users onboarding experience more easy, he also mentioned where you can store your user information. Can you store that on chain, or can make your wallet more smart? Or can you put like the on-chain information combined with the ZK technology to make it like more privacy? Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Gotta do these trade-offs. And also like on the point Shawn mentioned as well, it was supposed to be later topic, but I think it's very interesting where I think until now you have to still make those trade-offs between decentralization and the best user experience, right? And I think it's very hard to assess what's the best point at which like decentralization ends and the user experience starts and what you should focus on? Because like, I'm curious of your takes, but personally, I think users absolutely, like most of them don't care about decentralizations. Like, let's be honest. I think what they want is just a good product that is usable, and they are not really aware of what's happening in the background. So I feel like decentralized infra should become possibly as good to give like this almost centralized, I would say, experiences over the protocol.
I would disagree a little bit about that. I guess the whole point that Web3 even exists is that we're kind of trying to decentralize a lot of financial rails as well as, I guess, like rails within the internet itself. But I do agree that like, in order for like mainstream adoption to actually happen, it can't just live within siloed environments of like Web3 and Web2. So actually you have to depend on existing communities within the Web2 environment to actually onboard a lot more people into the Web3, which I agree on the kind of like that centralized approach of trying to onboard people into the more decentralized side. But as far as like, if you go deeper into the stack, I think that's where you actually have to have a deeper level of decentralization, or we're just kind of going to trend towards like a Web 2.2.0.
Yeah, that makes sense. And
Yeah.
also on the point you mentioned, that you need to first onboard people, and then you can like introduce them further down the learning curve with like Web3 stuff and more into DeFi. That's super interesting because I was recently onboarding my girlfriend to crypto, and I'm like, what's the best way to start? And I was like, all right, let's do Solana shitcoins. But then it's like spinning up Phantom Wallet, writing seed phrase is just too complicated at the beginning, right? Using Jupiter or whatever else. So we started with Moonshot. It's like the simple app where you just Apple Pay whatever you need there. And after a while, after a little bit of the onboarding, she could start like withdrawing her money and actually trying stuff across DeFi. So I guess that's a very good point where you need to first show them something like how it's done and what are the possibilities, and they probably need to explore further down the road the Web3 world, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can only kind of speak from kind of the Equilibrium side, but I guess we're more like, we made early bets into ZK, for example, because like we helped build Starknet. And like for that side, it was more on the thesis that like the true, I think, bridge into mainstream adoption is actually from like allowing kind of like the Web3 stack to be open to Web2 developers and to be able to ingrain in like kind of cryptographic methods and stuff like that. But we believe in a future where that's all going to be abstracted out, where you don't have to worry about like what is the decentralized kind of like cryptography consensus mechanism underneath kind of the stack that I'm building on. But I think instead of like GameFi and stuff like that will try to onboard users into Web3, it's more like the biggest barrier is like there are Web2 like enterprises as well as like financial institutions that just can't use a public blockchain because there are certain aspects of their business that they just can't make publicly available to everybody. Like you can't have like if they want to move like $1 billion, for example, like to a different wallet, like there are certain business aspects as to why they don't want people to track that. And so there hasn't been like an enterprise grade level like privacy solution for public to have access to the public blockchain. And so that's why we're very, I guess, like trying to integrate like ZK concepts and kind of like all these kind of FHE cryptography kind of methods into Web2 stacks without people like knowing it. And if you can achieve that, that's when like actually existing enterprise user bases that actually have the billions of users can actually be onboarded into like the on-chain environment.
Yeah, so I was actually just about to ask, like, is the goal of our infra protocols and of user protocols, is the goal to completely abstract the Web3 stack So when user interacts with blockchain, it basically feels like Web2, or he doesn't even know he uses Web2. Do you think that's the way in the future, or how else do you envision it? Maybe we can start with Shawn, or...
Sure. I think just going back to my earlier point, right? As an industry or as the builders in the room, I think the decision is with the builders to like make those conscious decisions on the technical trade-offs, right? And I think it's making it as simplified as possible for the users to utilize and onboard onto Web3, right? So for them, the whole idea is like you mentioned your example with your girlfriend, right? Your girlfriend shouldn't find it difficult to actually trade Solana shitcoins or meme coins as hard as they're trading on the traditional equities, right? So the whole idea there is to onboard as many users. So from my perspective, the technical part should be taken by the builders and not by the users, because the users would not really care to look at what is the underlying tech stack, right? But back to the point about Chris mentioning of decentralization, it's a very powerful point, because you do not want to have a one point of failure. Because like, if you know Axelos, one of the founders is from Greece, and if you rewind back 15 years ago, Greek nationality couldn't withdraw money from their banks because there was a bank run at that point in time. So the whole point of decentralization has a meaning towards that. And I think maybe not in this part of the world, but in many parts of the world where institutions are not as strong, and if let's say there are institutions that fall, potentially you might lose your money. Today, whatever money you have in your bank account is you're saying that you're trusting the bank to actually give you every dollar that you have in the bank account. But with self-custody, you always have the power of the assets that you are holding today.
There is actually a debating what's the future blockchain should be look like. Is it like a gambling place, only just doing like PvP or meme token or trading or anything related to DeFi? Or actually the other saying it's like a word computer. So Vitalik used to use this word to define Ethereum, and recently Eigenlayer bring it again. Our new layer 2's name actually is super word computer, because we fully believe the other trend. We think the blockchain is not only about meme PvP trading, it actually can do more stuff. But if you want to do more stuff, as a computer, we know you need to have computation power, which is a TBS everyone is working on. And you need to have like a on-chain, like CPU, basically the storage level. So that's what we have been working on, the on-chain storage through like EthStorage. Also, you need to have account system, user experience, app store, all those things. People can easily just use your individual computer to get everything on the internet. And that's what we are also want to build in, for example, like gas token to help easily onboard the way. I think majority of the infra project here is believe on the other ones. Otherwise, you don't really need that many like infra, right? You only need like DEX. You only need to have like smart contract to generate a token. That's it. Yeah, so I guess that's why we're here and trying to work towards the other way, building like a super world computer.
Yeah, actually on the user experience side of things, I think we also, like, we as an Oracle, we don't interact directly with users. I mean, our users are basically, let's say, B2B, because we interact with protocols that consume our data. And we also noticed this need for low friction integration from protocols, because at the beginning we were marketing ourselves as the pool model Oracle, where the pool model is basically the one where it's user interaction with the protocol that pushes the data on chain. So it's usually more scalable, we can have more feeds on the chain, more gas efficient, but then it requires DApp doing some adjustments to its code in order to integrate the Oracle. And what turned out, we launched the protocol, we launched the pool model, and guess what? no one used us. Like we had one protocol using us at the beginning, or maybe two. We tried to sell to the others, you know, and it was super hard because everyone in the industry is used to chaining push model, and like 90% of the market is using and integrating data in that model. So what protocols wanted from us is basically exact same model, just offering more number of assets and more number of chains. And that's what we did. So we introduced the push model. It does cost us more because we need to operate reliers. It's way more requiring in terms of maintaining the feeds. Of course, we optimize it now, but it's still like more requiring. And that's, I think, a very simple example of like where infra needs to adjust to user needs. I wonder if you have anything similar within your projects, or if you have any examples from your experience where you had to adjust your product to better fit user needs. Maybe just one person can answer because we're short on time.
I can go quickly. So one of the projects that we built for Celestia, for example, was a browser-native light client node. So it's called Lumina, and you could probably look it up right now on your phone. And so the whole idea of Celestia was that like you could create a light client node where you can pretty much verify from any device as long as you have a browser. And so we built that because like otherwise you kind of have to have some sort of technical knowledge to actually run a node on any network right now. But we wanted to abstract that away, and so we kind of like, I guess, adapted that so that any user with any browser, you could probably even do it like on a smart fridge, for example, that has a browser. So as long as like you can kind of identify the pain points like of an end user, like you just mentioned, and design something elegant enough that like it's not a huge kind of like ordeal or hassle to get what you want to do at the end. It's possible. We're just like very early, I feel like, in the cycle. And,
yeah. So to all the builders, find the pain points and make life simpler for users. All right, thank you so much, guys. Thank you to the panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you.